out there and create some more leaders. Thank you.
Hopefully we'll see some of you younger guys that'll be able to come up here as well and get this wonderful medal. Thank you.
We'll give it about 2 more minutes and we'll start talking offense. I'm excited to get some notes down myself. If we don't pass the ball to the other team, we're actually pretty good.
Amen, man. That really makes the game harder when you don't get a shot and you give them the easy ones, right?
Never seen a turnover go in, Never seen a turnover go in. Oh my. How's John McCarthy?
Honestly, just coming off surgery, I just took my sling off so I didn't look like I was handicapped here. I had rotator cuff surgery, and I didn't realize it was a particularly big deal. I kind of figured just go stitch it up, reattach the thing, go a couple weeks of rehab, and I'm good. And doctor kind of laughed at that, and that's about a month of no driving, a month in a sling, and 12 weeks of rehab, and so I'll be fine. It's just I can barely get my arm up to the table at this point, and then I just, as the rehab people reminded me, just for the most part, don't be a sissy and suck it up, and let's get better here.
Tough love.
That's perfect, Pat. I'm going to ask you to share your screen with everyone, if you would. I think you have permission to do so.
I do.
And at this point, we're going to get rolling with improving your team's offensive efficiency and some strategies, some concepts to go about that. Coach Pat Juckem from WashU, Washington University in St. Louis. And Coach, the floor is yours.
So, well, thank you, Chris and John. Really, humbled and honored to be part of your summer webinar series. And we were talking, prior to starting here about just how, technology has allowed us certainly this medium of Zoom has made it, as a game changer. We all got way too familiar with it over about 5 years ago when the pandemic occurred. But like many coaches, we were all kind of feeling that need to connect and use it as an opportunity to learn and grow. And so like many, I was part of a group of coaches that got together weekly and discussed different topics. And as I look back at just some of those notes, it was a pretty fascinating, I think, a turning point for me, myself personally, and I think for many, in terms of just like developing, their understanding of whatever different concepts, different elements of the game, and just learning from so many people. And so, hope to play a small role in that. Certainly don't feel that I have it all figured out. Clearly, I don't. But I've stolen a lot of good ideas about basketball, particularly the offensive side, and looking forward to sharing a couple ideas. What I'm going to do tonight primarily is I'm going to show a lot of clips from our team, and I hope that the technology and everything for those watching, that they can see that, because I think the best way for us to go through this is to actually watch some film together. I think that's I'm a film nerd, and I think so many of us in this game we love to just dive in that way. So the topic of improving offensive efficiency, it's kind of a fancy way of just saying getting really good shots, right? And I think that's what we're after on the offensive end is how can we get more and better shots than what we're giving up on the other end. So co-opted the term that we all use now, efficiency, but it's like, how do we get really good shots? And I'll give,
Coach, if there, just to interject, if there are, Yeah, if there are questions, if there's anything in the chat, throw it in the chat. We'll kind of moderate as we go. We'll do some questions and answers at the end for sure. But if anyone has anything that comes up, pop it up in the chat, and I'll go ahead and interject at a stopping point.
Absolutely. Free flow, throw things out there. And Chris, yeah, just shoot them at me. And I do say I've benefited so much over my career of having excellent staff and assistant coaches. I've got two of them with me that I think are on tonight, Steve Wilcutt, Patrick McGrail, part of my staff here at WashU, and they've certainly have impacted our approach and have helped me grow as a coach as well. So excited to have them on, and certainly might put them on the spot as well when to share their ideas. So just briefly, I grew up in the great state of Wisconsin, and during a time when Dick Bennett was the head coach at University of Wisconsin Green Bay, and then later University of Wisconsin. So if you grew up kind of in the 80s and 90s playing basketball in Wisconsin, you probably played for a coach who was, worshiping at the disciple of Dick Bennett, which is a pretty good coach to worship in terms of just being super sound. And so I always laugh. He ran a camp. I'll never forget this. He ran a camp at Green Bay. It was a defensive camp. And my high school coach mandated that all of us, like, if we want to play for our coach, you need to go to this camp. It was a full week or 4-day camp. And this thing sold out every year. And I swear to God, we did defensive stations all morning, and we did like defensive, like shell drill and breakdown. We played one game a day. We played a game at night, and that thing sold out. I always joke, if I tried to run that camp today, I think we'd have 0 people sign up for it. Nonetheless, so definitely grew up with a impacted by the Dick Bennett's and his approach. And so obviously offensively, Coach Bennett was a blocker mover. So I think I've certainly evolved a lot in terms of my understanding. I see myself as believing in giving players freedom, and so kind of have used every permutation of motion offense. I know now we tend to call it more conceptual offense, but it's another, again, fancy way of saying some motion and movement, and whether it be blocker, mover, 5 out, the Rick Majerus approach, 4 out, 1 in. I threw the quote up here. I always love the Bobby Knight quote. We can teach them plays, or we can teach them how to play, and I definitely come down on the side of teaching. We want to teach our guys how to play, and we're fortunate at WashU. We really intelligent young men, way smarter than the coach. And so we recruit to that high IQ, guys who understand the game at a real high level. When you get players like that together, I think this game is a little bit easier. So what are those great high efficient shots? I think we all pretty much agree what those are, right? Layups, getting the free throw line and shooting, room and rhythm, uncontested inside out threes. Can we get as many of those as possible? And if you look at, and I think a lot of the clips you'll see in my presentation, vast majority, the ball is touching the paint in some way or fashion. That whether that directly leads to it, or the defense is bent, and then in rotation and chasing and behind. So we talk a lot about assaulting the paint, and having that mindset, and it's something that we find we try to track that, everything from, what are our shooting percentages on threes that come through the paint versus not. And it's pretty consistently, it's usually about a 20% difference. If you track your threes from those that touch the paint and those that don't, you're going to probably see about a 20% give or take difference in terms of efficiency or effectiveness. So starting broadly there with our philosophy, we always talk about, and one of my assistants on here, I stole it from him, likes to say, and I agree with this, show me who my best 2 players are, and I'll tell you what we're going to run on offense. And so while we are, I think, have a conceptual understanding and foundation, how we execute that each year is going to be, it's going to evolve or morph based on, what are the strengths of our team? What do we have? Do we have a dominant big? Do we have a guard who's really good in pick and roll and ball screen? Do we have a movement shooter? What are those strengths? And then our job as coaches, I think this is the geeky part for us, is we get to try to figure out like how to put them in positions to be successful and get these high efficiency shots. I'm just going to throw this up here. Something we started doing more in a more detailed fashion. I'm sure coaches, we all talk about shot selection and how to teach shot selection. And like many, I've tried different ways of doing it, and some more objective than others. But we've settled on a system that I really like, and we used more specifically this year. And we use kind of a gold, silver, bronze rating of our shots. And I hopefully you guys can see this. So the gold shots, they're classic, right? They're dunks, layups, free throws. We get fouled on a shot. That goes in the gold shot category. Silvers are those inside out, uncontested threes. Maybe it's a slightly contested layup or shot at the rim, but a really good shot. And then the bronzes are pretty much everything else. So off the dribble twos, tougher threes, maybe out of control or unbalanced finishes around the rim. And what we found, and I had Jake Stecklin, an assistant of mine, started tracking this. We actually had a trip to Spain last May. So we got some practices leading up to that. We started tracking it more consistently. And then he went back to a season prior and did some kind of retrograding of our shots, and kind of found when he used this that if we could get to roughly around 70% of our shots being in those gold and silver buckets, I forget exactly what our win percentage was, but it was super high. And so I just kind of threw in this graph here. This is from a lot of our games this year. And the biggest takeaway, and we would chart all 5-on-5 shots in practices, scrimmages, and through, I think we played 30 games this year, and it was pretty darn consistent, right? The value of a bronze shot for us this year was under 0.6. It was 0.59. The value of a gold shot was about 1.4, more than double. Silver was almost 1.3. So, especially when you have players today, and they need sometimes a little more, they need the why, okay? And this really helps our guys understand the value. Like, listen, that tough two that we took with 22 seconds in the shot clock, that's a 0.6 shot. Okay, if we get one more action, one more swing of the basketball, give ourselves another opportunity to get something in the silver or gold, that shot value is going to double. And still, we can still get to that bronze shot maybe late in the shot clock if we don't get a great advantage. So this has helped us, and I thought our guys really grasp it. And again, something that we're going to continue to do going forward. So again, I think other people have done similar things, but this was the first time we did it that way, and we think it was pretty helpful for us. And we had a pretty efficient offense this year. I think we were 6th or 7th in the country, something like that. So we had really good players, which I think we all know really helps. At the end of the day, talented players trump the X's and O's quite a bit too. So I'd like to start kind of the first layer of this is transition, right? And I think it's pretty commonly understood and accepted. Those first 7 seconds, the defense, especially when you're teaching, transition defense, we know how hard it is, especially when you're facing an offense that's really come at you and coming downhill. So we really want to attack those first 7 seconds and put maximum pressure on the defense, and we're trying to run for layups. And so I picked out a series of clips here to kind of identify some of the different, things that we really feel strongly about. And I think no matter how you teach transition offense, I think a lot of these concepts can relate and can equate to good opportunities and efficient shots. Okay, so I'm going to talk through some of this film, and again, I hope this is for those watching, they can get something out of this. So, the first couple of clips here, I'm just going to show. We talk a lot about as soon as we get control of the basketball, we gain possession. It's those first three steps. We refer to them as bolts. Usain bolts. We're bolting out of the blocks, and I'm going to highlight here number 20, who's going to end up making a layup in this possession. If you watch his first three steps and how quickly he gets out and goes, and again, this would be a clip that we'd show our guys, the following the day after their next film session, as an example of this is what a bolt looks like to us. You got a couple more here. Number 32, a little bit. He kind of first couple steps weren't great, but then he really gets out and goes, long stride, pass over the top. And again, we're hunting these. We play so many close basketball games, right? When you play really good competition, those are going to be 1 or 2 possession games. And, if you can steal a couple baskets in transition where you don't have to go, I would say, like, can we play in a way that gives us a chance against the best teams on our schedule? And those best teams on your schedule, likely are going to be really good in their half-court defense. So can we get something, an advantage, a couple easy baskets? We're running for golds. We'll settle for silvers for sure. So I wanted just to start with just those first 3 steps and showing some of that. Here's it, highlighting the bigs. So if our bigs get out ahead, we want them to run to the rim, big 34 here. And I love it. We love rim running bigs. And this would be a clip, and I'm sure I showed this one this year. This was an early game for us. Big, 6'10" kid gets out, outrun. He starts behind the pack, outruns everybody. Another one, big running over the top. And the reality is this, and again, I just showed 5 or 6 clips here. We know we're not going to get a ton of these, right? But just the act of making a team and a defense get back for 40 minutes, the body blows, and we talk a lot about that, is we want to just throw body blows for 40 minutes. And you know what? Maybe for 38 minutes or 39 minutes or 39 minutes and 30 seconds, they're going to get back. But if we get one, and I think there's certain plays in basketball that have an outsized emotional or psychological impact. I think transition baskets. I think offensive rebound, kick out, we call them daggers, right? Rebound, kick out, dagger threes. Those feel like way more than 3 points, right? The emotional, psychological swing from that. So we celebrate these, make a big deal out of it, certainly emphasize it on a daily basis. Next series. So we're big at passing ahead, early EPAs, early pass aheads. Okay, so next couple clips here. Pass ahead. We talk about if we go up same side, that's an up the street pass. So we got a couple of these. Long outlet, up the street, dunk, quasi dunk. Long rebound, get out of the gates, a 2-on-1. Again, haven't had to go and break down and manufacture offense. Another EPA. Actually, here's it across the street. So if we can't go up the street, our next look is we're going to go across the street. Cross the midline. So all this, the classic stuff, kind of primary break, rim run, up the street, across the street. Run the classic 2-sided break, right? So we're filling corners, and here, corner and 45 filled, one defender back. It's amazing if you track, and I haven't done this. I'm sure some coaches smarter than me have had. If you go back and track possessions and maybe efficiency or just outcomes, possessions where you pass the ball across half court versus dribble the ball across, and outcomes, I'd be of the opinion that you're going to have some better numbers and efficiency in possessions where you pass the ball up the floor. All right, here's kind of a later developing. So we talk a lot about, and something that I've evolved and changed myself is allowing different players to grab and go. So we're not necessarily always outletting the ball to a quote unquote point guard. So our saying, if you want to be the point guard, rebound the ball, then you're the point guard. And it kind of is born from, as more of a defensive minded person, I always reflect on what gives us the most trouble, what's hardest for us to guard. And oftentimes it's teams that just get the ball and just go right at you. Okay. Certainly we talked about, turnovers, but even long rebounds and just pushing and just getting wide. We want to get wide. We want to get to the corners. We want to create a lot of space. And if we can't pass the ball ahead, but sometimes like here's really good space, we got the ball on the run. Now we draw three defenders, almost a paint touch, got good spacing here. Those are the shots that we practice, right? You practice these inside out, toes on the line, driving to the ball. Those are high efficiency shots. And those are shots that we're going to really like taking a lot of. Again, just kind of a wing player for us here, but again, grabs it, attacks. We just get out. The guys who call themselves point guards on the floor, their job is, hey, you recognize that you got to get down the floor. And here we get an advantage, a 3-on-2, shoot a layup. So grabbing and going. Got a really talented player this year, number 20, as a senior. He's actually going to go play overseas. And, about a 6'6" kid, really good rebounder, and developed into a better decision maker as he got older and developed his skill set. But when he had the ball coming down the floor with space is when he was at his best. And so we gave him every opportunity we could to do that. Told guys, just get down and give this kid space, let him go and put the ball in the paint. And something he was pretty special at. So example of kind of using your players. Here's one where the ball actually gets outletted to him on a made shot. Occasionally we would do that and just let him just go and attack. And we kind of just get out of his way. We create some space, allow him to go. He'd have a kind of a Barkley game, or here he just kind of power slides and gets to the basket and uses strength and athleticism.
Real quick, Coach, what are you emphasizing in your transition spacing? How are you filling your spots?
Yeah. So it's equal opportunity. Like I said, it kind of starts with the fact that we don't necessarily have a designated point guard, particularly on missed shots. So we're pretty comfortable with usually 4 and sometimes all 5 of our players leading and attacking it. So we want to get wide. We're okay with the spacing being, as long as I don't want guys crossing the floor. So we just say get to the closest sideline and get wide and get as deep as you can. So sometimes that leads to not the exact same spacing. We might have both corner fields and then a 2 side. Sometimes we might have a trips or 3 on a side and then kind of an empty corner, which you're going to see a couple possessions here coming up with some things we can do when we have that spacing. So we just want guys to get as deep, and it's something that's been interesting with players who've maybe come up as point guards and they're used to coming back to the basketball or kind of hanging around for an outlet pass. You have to sort of retrain them. We really get on them. Like, listen, your job is to get down the floor. Like, hey, how about the ball is hit ahead to you sometimes, where now you can, instead of being the one delivering it, you can be the one on the other end attacking. So we're trying to get deep, wide, fill corners, and we just talk about creating space. And then, our big player, we call our bigs a joker for us. If they can get ahead, they're going to get up on the rim. If they can't get ahead, then they've got some other options in like the trail, or we give them some freedom to do some screening and transition. But we want them, if they get ahead, we want them to get up and sprint to the rim.
Thank you.
So I got a couple here coming up, a little slower developing. So, every clip so far has been kind of your classic early hit aheads, grab and goes, stuff like that, primary, the good stuff, right? We know we we'd like to have that be our outcome every possession, but we realize that's not. So now we still want to have great pace. And then we like, we like to have some random things occur. Here's some random kind of quick step up ball screen in transition. Here's our big was actually wide. And so we let him kind of button hook back and we've got an empty corner. We call this zero spacing. When we have an empty corner, it's a zero. So four's got to get his butt down here to the corner, and then this kid's got to be on the logo. And so kind of classic, three sides of trips for us. And now we can kind of play out of this. And so step up, turns the corner. We're going to get to the rim here. We don't freeze. Okay. Actually, let me back. So what's very in vogue, and we keep seeing this more and more, is the concept of ghosting. Or again, this was something with this player right here. Was a really good player for us this year, Drake Kinsvader. And when he come down, we try to give him some space. So here, 32 is going to come up and ghost, or really just a shallow cut, but causes just a little indecision here. Just give a little advantage, and then you give a good player advantage, 2 on the ball, and now good spacing. Excellent shot. We'll mix in some concepts. Again, we talked about being conceptual. So like everyone seems to run now some version of a pistol, little 3-man game with some guard handoffs or screening. We like to mix it in once in a while. Here we end up with a reject and a big that pops and gets a wide open shot. So just a couple different things we do out of that kind of step up ball screen concept. Threw this in here real quick just to talk about some transition offense ideas that you can use in practice. A couple things that we found to be effective. First thing is we call it our 5 and 35. So kind of your classic 5-on-0 transition that a lot of us do, right? Just whether you go for 1 trip, 2 trip, maybe go through some of your primary options, maybe use it as a early part of practice to get loose, passing, catching, finishing, working on your spacing. So we'll mix in, use a shot clock, 35 seconds on the shot clock. And our guys have to go 5 possessions, and all 5 players must score. And sometimes we may dictate how that is, or oftentimes it's all primary. So we need an EPA for each wing. We need a rim run layup. Our point guard's gonna cross the midline and maybe get dangerous, and then we're gonna do something with our trail player. So and we got to do that in 35 seconds. So it forces guys to get out and to really get into those first 3 steps, and we can talk about, listen, this is the standard. Like all players want to run and play transition basketball, right? It's until they have to realize the type of condition you need to be to do it over the course of day after day, possession for possession, for 40 minutes. You've got to be in elite shape. So the 5 and 35 drill has been a good kind of a staple for us. We do a breakdown fairly frequently, just our transition shooting, where I might take the bigs on one court and do some rim run and some of the kind of their transition concepts, while my assistants take all our perimeter players, and everything from just off the glass 1-on-0 grab and go, and maybe make a 1-on-1 move and finish, to some 2-on-0 where they off the glass long rebound, take off, EPA, and then have to make a move and score it. And just again to develop those skills, we can turn it into some finishing at the other end, but also we're developing those habits and standards of, listen, like again, we've committed to being a team that's going to play in transition, play fast. All right, then we have to be about it every single day.
Real quick, Coach, can I interject?
Absolutely, interject away.
You mentioned in the 5 and 35 drill, get dangerous, your point guard, get dangerous. Mark Ruckledge wants to know, what does get dangerous mean?
So, yeah, we ask our ball handlers or our pushers, if you can't go hit ahead or EPA it up the street, we want to bring the ball through the logo. And oftentimes, and there was a couple clips I had in there where sometimes the C's just part. You've got good spacing and guys getting wide. Um, uh, Looks like I got a thing here. Um, the there's just space. So to us, getting dangerous is I want them to make a play, get to the paint, and score at the rim. That's getting dangerous for us.
I love that. Great. Thank you.
I heard on the next one I got here, Boston transition. I heard this on a podcast, and I think it was an assistant coach with Boston with the Celtics, which is why I called it Boston transition. He was asked a great question, and it was if you could only have one drill, run one drill every single day in practice, what would it be? And the drill, this assistant, I don't even know his name, and I apologize to him, but I think it's great. So the drill is it's a 5, basically scrimmage concept. You're going up and down, but whoever shoots the ball last, each possession, we have an assistant coach stationed underneath the basket on the baseline on both ends. So whoever shoots the ball last has to go and slap the coach's hands. So what it's creating is immediate 5-on-4, immediate advantage every single possession. If there's an offensive rebound or maybe multiple shots in a possession, it's whoever shoots that last shot has to go, and we put our coach right underneath the basket on the baseline. They got to go slap. And I think it's the best thing we've done. And it's from, you're getting advantage, disadvantage. It's a great, not good, it is a great defensive drill. Because those guys, it forces them in real game-like scenarios to get their butt back. And here's the other thing that I came to learn about this drill is it really teaches shot selection. Because if you take bad shots in this drill, okay, with long rebounds, and then you're out of position, and then you've got to go and, sprint down. And the best is if you can shoot a layup, you're right there to slap the coach's hands, and you got a good chance of maybe getting that back and being whole. But if you take bad shots, and then have to run and find that coach, you're hanging your teammates out to dry. And I put in here, we call it score stop a lot. That's a really common scoring mechanism for us, where a basket doesn't count or a score doesn't count unless it's validated the next possession with a stop. So we'll go, hey, we're going Boston transition, score stop game. We're going a game, 3 score stops to win or something like that. And I concur and agree with this coach from the Celtics that if we only can do one drill all year long, I'm pretty sure for us it would be Boston transition as well. So I think it's a great, we've been doing it for a couple of drills. Love it. Staple for us. Short shot clock, shorten that shot clock. We'll do usually we'll go in maybe 3 trips or 6 possession increments. We'll play for, maybe it's a 12 to 15 second, a shorter shot clock. Again, just to force our team to play faster to the point of being a little uncomfortable. Just using a shot clock or a clock and going some shorter shot clock possessions. Again, forcing your players to just play fast, to play with pace. If they don't get a shot in the first, there's whatever, you really want to turn it up 12 seconds and they've got to really go. And then the last thing here is just manipulating, using a scoring constraint. So we'll give more points to a transition score than to a half court score. And it's amazing. We do that with rebounding. we'll give offensive rebound scores worth double, and it's better than any rebounding drill you're ever going to do because again, your players are competitive by nature, and they're going to figure out how to take advantage of you. So you can really manipulate and kind of, I think, adjust and shape behavior based on even how you score some of your drills. So talked a lot about transition. To me, that's where if you're going to be a good offensive team, that's a great place to start. Going to now focus on footwork and some of the things we teach in our skill development, and picked a couple clips out here to kind of show some of those areas and things that we work on pretty much on a daily basis. Like to talk about with our guys. Good footwork is a weapon. Whether it be pivoting and stride stopping and or 2-foot stops, or all the different things that fundamental things that we teach in those areas. But I'm going to start with a concept, and again, some of this bleeds kind of a natural connection from transition basketball. So you're going to see the start of possessions here, and so we teach everybody in our program Barkley footwork, and we call it Barkley. I think it's pretty common, just kind of an idea of when you get cut off, instead of giving up your dribble or backing your dribble out or picking up the ball, flipping your hips and going from perimeter to post. So we're teaching from small guards to the biggest bigs, everyone in between. Everyone is going to develop this skill set and this footwork. So just an example of a hit ahead, gets cut off, Barkley, but now we're in the paint. We got some movement, balance, finishing at the rim. Another example on the other side here. And draws 2 defenders, right? Draw 2 defenders. Okay, now we've got to make a good decision. Layup. Gold shot. Like I mentioned, we're doing it with all of our players, bigs, littles, in-betweens. Here's one of our guards who developed a really good Barkley game. He was a physical player. It fit well with what he did. And just back down, get to a spot. If you can get to the front of that smile right there, notice how his right foot's on the smile. Okay, that's the spot we're trying to get to. Again, notice shot clock here. So under 10 in the shot clock, 7 in the shot clock. Really good outcome for us. So Barkley footwork. Next thing we started teaching much more intentionally this year and working on is stampede, and we're gonna continue this, or hadn't really fully added it to our skill development work, but we really believe in it, and just the idea of ball in the air, feet in the air, catch the needs, catch it on the. We got a good example here. Something we're in our skill development part of our practice on a pretty much a regular basis. We're going to be making sure we get work on finishes with this kind of footwork, starting with different parts, maybe on quick swings. Obviously, these were transitions, these were inside outs. So Barkley, stampede footwork. Another thing we're going to work a lot on is playing off the stride stop. And I had an assistant coach when I was at UW Oshkosh, Matt Lewis, who worked with Doug Novak at Tulane, and Coach Novak, excellent teacher of the game, fundamentals, and he was the one that really opened my eyes and through Matt to the value of the stride stop. And so it's become a strong part of what we teach, and I'm going to just show a couple examples of how you in some gameplay here, kind of a stride stop to us right, left, create space. Next one, we're going to see stride stop. Now, what we love about that is it allows you 2 things. So the opportunity when you play off 2 feet to have a delay score. So the previous clip, the young man had a delay score, right? He kind of shot that little rondo step back. Here, this young man stride stops. What does he have? He's got two defenders on him. So he's got to be about sharing that and spraying that, right? But it allows him time to be balanced, okay? Us to re-space around him to recognize the kickback opportunity. It's amazing when you get behind your drivers. So we talk about, tail lights and headlights. Get in the tail lights, get in the headlights of your driver. So here we're in the tail lights of the drive, and now we've got a 2-on-1. We're going to get a wide open shot. And here's a way we teach. So he gets cut off. We attack. We get the ball in the paint. We're balanced. We've got a big we call it a yo-yo cut. He yo-yos under. Okay. And now that footwork allows him to come back and find that seal. Something we like to work on with a tandem of, maybe we start our big in this opposite dunker area or block, wherever you have them. Drive it, stride stop. He gets that duck in. Defender's on the wrong side of the play now. Something that's been really good for us. And again, if you got questions or comments, shoot them at me. Just we give our talented player some space to attack space. Plays off 2 feet. Again, this is a young man who's a senior. If you saw him as a freshman, he would have been off balance, off 1 foot, probably throwing it off the side of the backboard. Okay. Credit to the young man for really working on it and developing. He did not come, as many guys don't come with having that good 2-foot game or finishing product, but through some hard work, developed it and turned into a guy, just a weapon. So, transition offense. Then we looked at some technique and footwork and finishing. Now let's look at some cutting concepts. We all know, right? Cutting's important. Pressuring the rim, moving defense. But it's also an abstract thing. It's not necessarily easy to teach. So I'm going to give you a couple of different things that we've used, some concepts, and I think I mentioned this earlier. We like to evolve our team. So we start the season, with some basic concepts, but we have to watch and see I always tell our guys, you're going to tell us what we're going to do, and we want to have space and room. That's why I love conceptual basketball so much, because I think it gives us a pretty high ceiling. Sometimes we can look a little messy early on until guys learn how to play together and play off and read. But I do think it does give you the potential for a little higher ceiling. So cutting is an important part of any offense, any approach to get the game.
Real quick, Coach, before you
Yes,
get
sir.
into the cutting clips, how do you teach that stride stop in practice?
Yeah. So we start real basic, right? So we'll start with our guys literally up at the top of the restricted arc, and a coach underneath, and we'll just kind of soft toss the ball to them, and we just want them to slow down and just work on that 1-2, whether right left or left right. So we're going to start literally under here, and we're just going to go basic. We're going to go pitch it to them, stride stop, outside hand finish, maybe a stride stop, inside hand finish. We want to take the dribble out of it to start. We want to just get them to coordinate the footwork, and then the gather. And then we're really big, and I didn't mention this at all, the pickups. Like when we catch the ball, we really are demanding of our guys that they pick it up and they hide the ball. And this is a Doug Novak thing. I love it, though. He talks about hiding the ball with your face, right? Put that ball on your back shoulder, hide it with your face. And so we really challenge and demand that piece. So we'll start literally from right there with a couple finishes, outside hand, inside hand, maybe a rondo step through, 3 or 4 different finishes. Then will you move them up to maybe back to the elbow and start them, then give them one dribble, start them in a tuck position or triple tuck position, you know, go attack to their outside hand, one dribble, right. If I'm on the right side, right, left. Now, because since we've added the dribble, that offhand. So if they're going to their right, their left hand has to come up, and we call it a pickup. They have to pop the ball, and put it behind their face and hide it and put it their back shoulder. So we're adding that additional, we talk a lot about how you start and how you finish. How you start, how you finish. So we start pretty basic. We do a lot of, that's kind of core to us. And then kind of the next thing we'll do is we'll do some kind of a wing series, or maybe there'll be the ball in the corner. It gets swung, maybe like the ball's gotten like a drift pass, one more, and now we're gonna attack through the elbow from the wing, and now it's probably 2 dribbles, and we're gonna go through the same kind of our core finishes, our outside hand, inside hand, the rondo, and our guys. And we allow our guys to be creative. We said, listen, we're going to give you kind of the foundation, and then you guys can figure out some, we don't push the Euro finish a whole lot. I think it's overused personally. But, we give them some space to, say, you got to get good at a couple things. Everyone's got to get good at an outside hand and an inside hand. And we think the rondo off the stride stop's really important. You don't need a whole lot else, but we give them some opportunities to, to find ways to be creative and those kind of get good at something else. Those are kind of our basics. We do other little things. Like I said, transition's important. Hey, hit a heads, now attack, but then the finishes are all the same, right? We're always finishing off 2 feet. Rarely, you saw a couple in this presentation early on. We had some behind the defense breakaway 1-foot finishes, but man, against the best teams you play, those are few and far between. So you're finishing off 2 feet, which allows you the opportunity to also get those sprays and those kickouts as well, to have that delay mechanism.
Thank you.
Does that help you? All right. What are we talking about? We're talking about cutting. That's right. Okay. So something as a conceptual approach, and I think, again, how basketball has evolved, right? Again, I came up in an era, I started my coaching career, especially in Wisconsin, where I coached previously, everyone was running some version of motion offense, blocker mover, Bobby Knight motion offense. Well, that's not as common today, right? I feel like our players today, they're so much better with the ball. It's amazing how good players are with the ball today. Off the ball in terms of playing without it, I feel like that's probably not as good as it was in a previous iteration of this game. So, giving guys some hard and fast things to go on. So one of the things we talk a lot about is a read, or when to cut, is we talk about following your help. So you're going to see an example here. Okay, the ball is driven baseline. This player right here, the MIG or the low man goes to help. Here's the concept: follow the help. Now you can say, well, what about just staying there and getting the 3? Yes, that'd be okay too. But we like to teach. We want to teach our guys to be cutters, to be not just stationary spot up players. Let me go back. I think I had one more here. I jumped over. Okay. Oh, that's the same clip. Okay. Here we just got to, we like to play through, haven't talked about this, kind of the extended or the great spot to play from. It's a great way to play under the defense, turn some heads, break vision. And you're going to see we get some spacing. Our big kind of starts to yo-yo. We space to the 3-point line. We're putting the ball in the paint because that's where all good shots come from. And now we're going to have a defender. It turns to help. What's the rule? Follow your help. Follow your help, get a layup. What are we doing on the weak side? So here we get an advantage. A little screening action, break the shell, balls in the paint. Okay, gets cut off, draws a second defender. But what oftentimes we're looking at is what do these guys do over here, right? And so we look at anytime you can see the back of his head, you should be cutting. And if you look at how this defender is positioned, right? Head staring at the basketball, which a lot of defenders do on the backside, they stare at the ball. That rule for us is we want to cut that. You see the back of his head, that's the time to cut. And because Ford played off 2 feet, he had time to get balance and deliver. Same thing, we're in that middle of paint. We pick the ball up. Defender does a good job, squares us up. But now we got pivot game, back of the head. So following your help, see the defender's back of his head. Okay. Next thing. So we've got a corner, and we call it the 45, pretty common terminology. Cutting that 45, I think it's common. We call it a kill cut. So we present different options. Are there times we have 2 guys cut in the same space? Yes. I'm not going to show you those clips today. I'm not going to show you all the bloopers. But I'd rather have 2 guys cutting than nobody cutting. We'll figure out how to make sense of that. You're just playing basketball, right? I mean, you're denied, empty side. We've got good space. And I think some guys just this was a freshman this year, just had a great feel for when to cut. You know, the kid was denying him, and if you're denied, classic, cut to the basket. Don't fight the pressure. You know, playing a team here, Emory, really good team. Coach there does a great job. They're pretty aggressive, forcing base, up in passing lanes. Hey, we gotta, you know, don't fight the pressure. Let's back cut the pressure. Okay, so now we're going to combine this, right? So we had a little ball screen. Their ball screen's rejected in the paint. Make a decision to cut out of the corner. Defender reacts, okay? But now, since number 4 plays off 2 feet, stride stop, and he's looking back. Now that triggers, we've got to move. This player's got to cut to space. This player. And this is something that we've had to work really hard on. And I don't know that we're always great at it, okay? But if we can attack and be in this, if we can get in the restricted arc, we got to score that, okay? If we're up in this high paint area, you know, we either want to Barkley, keep our dribble, or at the very least, stride stop, and then let's play back and see. And if you can just get 1 or 2 pivots, it's amazing how it opens up spray outs, or in this case, we get a back cut. All right, pick up the pace here a little bit. It looks like I'm going long. Shocking. I still believe in screening off the ball. I know it's not as in vogue, but I think it's going to be coming back because guess what? Because it's not as common, defenders aren't as good. Who wants to fight through screens anymore? So we still believe in mixing in off-ball screening in terms of advantage. So now we're in half court. Now defense did a good job, got back, withstood our initial thrust. Okay, now we have to move the ball and we have to trigger, get into action. We like to give our team a couple, based on how our opponent, maybe a weakness, maybe how they play things. We like to have a short menu of things we really want to attack, and that'll change or deviate a little bit game to game. but there's some things that we're going to do a lot. So just getting into some split actions, right? Two guys screening together, various sides of the floor. So, here we had a team that was switching our pin down. So you're going to watch 21 switches. Got a wing that's a good post player. We call that, for us, our term, we call that a button hook. When we cut to the rim and come back to the ball, that's a button hook. Now you're in a couple split games here. A team switching kind of, a lot of teams running kind of a split, low splits or high splits, right? Good stuff. Doing it with pace, being diverse in your action, making sure one player is pressuring the rim. Okay. And that's what gives, obviously, we know switching some troubles when it's diverse. Here, a nice late slip by number 4. We're spaced, draw 2, swing, wide open shot. A similar scenario here. Our terminology, we call that a 7 cut because that angle of that is basically like the 7. So that we'll call that a 7 cut. That's basically a slip. Now we're playing off of like a wide elbow catch that presents some opportunities to play some higher split game up here. Nice late slip by the number 20. High split, get caught in the screen, a little indecision. My assistant coach, and I love it, when we get a little bit stagnant or a little bit too like dribble happy, we talk a lot about, listen, we got to give the defense an opportunity to make some mistakes. How do they make mistakes? We put them in some action. We put them in some action. We give them, when we do it with pace and precision, we give them an opportunity to screw something up. And then we have to react and take advantage of that. Little longer developing play, advantage 2. And sometimes nothing fancy here. A classic away screen and just being physical. Put a body on someone. 15 gets a body on this defender. We get the tight curl. We shoot a layup. Guys, basketball isn't. We sometimes overcomplicate it, right? If you go screen a body, here again, just in a kind of we call it an away screen. We curl. They help off the corner. Good shooter gets a wide open 3. Okay. Let's simplify this. Less is more. Let's screen bodies. Now we've got a trip. We have a trip side, 3 on a side. Okay. We just can't be stationary. We got to have some movement. And here they really pull over. They're aggressive in a ball screen. They're a blitz team. So that low man's going to stay. Okay, they're probably going to switch out. And now by moving down, screening, we cause some confusion. Late switch, we screen in, we got a wide open shot. So that off-ball screening can come in different ways. And I'll pick up the pace here a little bit. We love mixing. I'll tell you what, I'm convinced back screening has never been better than it is right now. Take one of your best players and have them set back screens. The player that they don't want to help off of. We've watched Auburn, who still runs some version of flex offense, and it's tremendous. Because guess what? Nobody spends a lot of time guarding flex screens anymore. We're looking for ways to set more of them, not less. Little weak side flare, especially defenders that are in the gaps, right? Take good defensive principles, jump to the ball, and you punish those good principles by screening it in. Screen in those teams that are really good in the gaps. Chris, do you want me to still go on? I got one more section, but I can.
Yeah, let's just roll through it. Yep, let's roll through it.
Let's roll school. We got some ball screens and 2-man game. We're going to start with just getting picked up a little bit, setting a high flat. I think this is a tough angle. You got, again, really good guard, setting those middle third flat ball screens underneath the defense and giving a guy a head of steam. really hard to guard, especially, and again, a defense in that case was really getting up and pressuring. So now it forces it further out. Here we do it kind of more in the slot area. Had a nice weak side cut timed up there, paint kick. Those blind screens. Got a little reversal, empty corner, and now you're going to see that footwork again. So defender, they switched this late. Now they put their small on our big, and because we played off 2 feet, stride stop, big guy seals. It's a great way to get a deep duck in. And that's that footwork we talked about earlier. Kind of we're just flowing right now. And again, as I think we talk, when you teach ball screens, you got to have that reject has to be there, right? Love rejecting. Nice to have a guy that can just go up and finish like that. That helps too. Okay, we're just playing, trying to create. We lost an advantage. We're trying to create an advantage. Again, reject. Get to again, we'd still call that a bronze, but he was pretty good at shooting the pull-ups. We weren't going to have too much problem. A chase. So just good chase action. Kind of classic in flow, right? Swing, chase. He kind of pops out of it. Long closeout, attack the closeout, shoot a layup. But the pace was really critical there. The sprinting and arriving, make that defender arrive late. Here's a ghost. Long closeout, advantage at the rim foul. If you have a bigger player that's a pretty good handler, some inverted ball screen stuff. We had a team in our league this year, NYU, that did a great job of that. So like anything, we stole the idea and started employing it a little bit ourselves. Here's our really good guard setting a step up ball screen for our bigger player here. Just putting defenders in kind of unconventional spots, late switch at the rim foul. So inverting the ball screens. And then the last little segment here is some get action. Started, I think it's pretty common these days, playing off handoffs, right? So a couple different things here. Team pressuring, so we run get, and then we try to finish it with we hand it off and then get a little screen to create an advantage. What does that trigger? 2 on the ball. Got to get off of it. Good shooter, good shot. So in our flow game, you're just a get with a little screen after it versus a team that was really coming out. They were really getting us. So that get action is effective up high. 2-man game, we call it checking it. So defender goes under. So then we check to a rescreen. Gets out with good pace. 2 go with the diver there. Leaves a wide open shot. Good player with a good shot. Gonna see another 2. Get, rescreen to pull up. So I'm gonna stop it right there. Threw a lot of stuff at you guys. I hope you can see the film, that I wasn't just talking over with that. But my goal, guys, is it starts with having really good players. I mean, let's face it. If you have guys that can't put the ball in the basket, man, you can run beautiful offense all you want, man. It's not gonna materialize. So we know, understand, good players make us coaches look a lot smarter than we are. First to admit that. And I'm fortunate. I've had really good players here. So, but hopefully there's, if you could pick up, maybe it's a concept or an idea or something you heard. I mean, that's really the goal of this stuff, guys, right? Is that you pick up 1 or 2 things that you can take back, or maybe it just stimulates an idea and then you take it and go with it. Like, that's what it's about. And like I mentioned, so much of what the stuff we do it started with usually something an opponent did to us that we couldn't guard that. If we can't guard it, hell, we better steal it and start doing it ourselves. So that's I've been doing this a long time, and man, it's just it ceases to amaze how stimulating it is to just the fun part about just going through and finding your team and just seeing what you can do and how you can develop. And maybe there's some things that you weren't anticipating at the start of the year that, hey, we've got something that we can build on, or this player really developed in the off season. And now, man, we can put him in, XYZ situation or position. That's the fun discovery of the journey of the season, right? Is to see how you can evolve. And I love going back and watching us, watch one of your early practices or your early scrimmage, right? And then watch, pick that game up late in the year that you played well. And it's like, man, did we come a long way? Did we evolve and grow and develop? And that's pretty fulfilling. And it's great to see, players and teams kind of move along in that journey. And hopefully, at the end, you're playing really good basketball and you're playing for something significant in March.
Coach, we've got one more question here. If there are any more, please throw them into the chat. David wants to know, during practice, what is your offense-defense ratio percentage?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't have an exact answer to that. I've evolved a lot as a coach. I think back. So I've been a head coach at three different Division III schools, right? Started I got my first job in 2005. And I think in that time where I was in practice, I was so drill based. I mean, if you came to our practices, I remember spending so much time. We did so much breakdown and drill. We didn't play, as I look back, nearly enough. If you're coming to our practices today, we are a lot more. We are play, and so and we still, don't get me wrong. I know it's one of my players, number 4. I see him on the call, Hayden Doyle, now a GA at Alabama. Hayden made me look like a really smart coach the last 4 years. Shout out to you, Hayden, if you're listening. Don't get me wrong. We would always prioritize, and I think this, if I were to come to your practice, what I see in the first 20 minutes of your practice tells me everything I need to know about what you as a coach, what you value, and what's important to you. Okay. And so for us, once we get going, it's going to be something with a defensive emphasis, whether it be a competitive transition defensive drill or something in kind of in a shell. We got some we call them our identity drills, like just some of those your favorite drill. It's about getting after it, and maybe it's 3 stops in a row or a perfect possession or something like that. Like we just got to set the tone that we're gonna be tough and it's gonna be hard to score on us. So I know I'm giving a long answer here. I don't know exactly what my ratio is. I don't know that it's, but I know this: defense is going to be always emphasized early. And when we do film sessions with our team, I, as a head coach, my focal point usually is rebounding, defense, and culture. Those are the areas that I am stressing in the film that I'm talking about. And Coach Patrick McGrail, he's going to his focus might be more offense. But I want our guys to understand from the head coach's perspective, like we're not going to win a championship. We'll be playing deep into March if we're not a really good rebounding team and we're not a really good defensive team, because there's no average defensive teams that usually play into March. So I think that, again, it's not what you say, it's what you emphasize. And that's always an emphasis for us. And we've been pretty, I think what we've hung our hat on here.
So one follow-up question to that, and then we'll go to another one. When you play, are you focusing on a certain things? Or are you playing for a set number of possessions?
All depends. So we look at our practice plan is broken up into we have teaching segments, we have learning segments, and we have competitive segments. Okay. And this is something I started doing more recently, and I really like it. And for our guys, and I'm fortunate, I have really competitive dudes, and they want to compete in every single thing we're doing. But as you guys know, if you're always keeping score and it's always about competition, which is great, okay, sometimes like the habits that you're trying to establish, don't carry through. So we'll tell, like, listen, this is a learning segment. We're going to play, we're going live. We're going to go, we do a lot of, what's real common for us is we call ODOs, offense, defense, offense, or DODs, depending on what we're doing. So a half court and then a down and back. Very common, right? So we'll do some three possession. Then we like to do like 2.5 trips. So that's 5 possessions, or we'll go up to like, so it depends on, hey, we need to get better at this specific concept. We need to do it. And this is where I've evolved as a coach, less breakdown, still do some small-sided games, 2-on-2, 3-on-3, think it's really valuable, but not nearly as much as I did when I started out as a head coach. A great deal. I mentioned this earlier in my chat. We like to manipulate, constraints. So everything from, hey, you only have, we're taking this drill, you have no dribble, or hey, and there's no ball screens in this. We're only gonna be off ball screening and cutting. So I think you can manipulate and shape based on, and some of it is, hey, this is about competition. One of our favorite things to do is we just call it a TBT game after the tournament that we're going to see coming up here. I think it's coming up in the week with the e-lamenting. So we're going to go 12 minutes on the clock. We're TBT, and then we have that target score in the end, and that brings in some really fun late game scenarios, right? Or end of game stuff. Hey, can't give up a 3. Make your players, how do you engage your players mentally? How do you get them to think and not be robots? Okay. And I think that's what great coaches do is they find ways to engage their players, make them think the game. So we're not always stepping in and we do a lot of, like everybody, a lot of late game, end of game scenarios in practice, need to practice those. Sometimes as a coach, I feel like early on, I need to be involved. I need the pressure of drawing up a damn play, side out of bounds, 10 seconds left, I haven't done that for 7 months or 8 months. I'm rusty as hell. I need to do that. But also there's value in your players having to figure it out, right? Hey, and think the game, time and score. So to answer, I'm giving you you can see why as a former teacher, I was always behind in my damn lesson plans because I always would go off on these crazy tangents, and the kids got me off really easily. So all those things, man. Is it a teaching segment? Is it a learning segment? Is it a competitive segment? I think it helps you when you devise your practice to acknowledge or be intentional about which category that is. It's helped me a great deal.
Last question that we had in the chat, Coach. Do you put your terminology on paper for your players?
We absolutely do. We have a glossary of terminology, and it's amazing. Each year, we have this running joke. We talk about, we have about 7 words called the magic words that we use a lot. It's our language. It's our lexicon. Okay. And so I've got those on our practice plan. And we're pretty adamant about, we don't want a lot of fluff talk. We want intentional talk. Okay. So these 7 words, we're big. Anytime you close out on the ball, we say my ball every single time. And I'm obstinate about demanding that happens. Okay. That's one of my piss off points. when they don't do that. My ball, okay, a shot call, okay, you know. So we got a couple, and we all have those things, but I don't want a lot of fluffy, ball, gap, 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 help, help, help. Everything we say has a meaning. And so we challenge our guys. It's not only what you say, but it's how you say it. Does it come from like the diaphragm? Like, we all have those younger players that, are quiet and maybe they're a little introverted and they don't talk, right? And it's like, man, you got to have a personality change when you step between the lines. I don't care. Like, be the nice, quiet kid for 22 hours a day, but for these 2 hours, man, if you want to play, you're gonna talk, and you're gonna say it the way we need to say it. So, and then from a terminology standpoint, particularly offensively, I think this is really important with if you have more of again, motion or conceptual approach. So we have a glossary of terms, have our guys have it, we paste it in our locker room, and it's really good for us as coaches to, because what one person calls a ghost screen, this person calls a slop, this person calls this. So it's a good accountability for us as coaches to make sure we're all using the same terminology as well. But absolutely, I think it's super important. That way we can communicate without calling plays. We can get our players could get on the same page. They could call, hey, let's get the ball swung and get a Jerry cut. And they all know what a Jerry cut is. And it was named after Jerry, our former manager, who was awesome. And we needed to recognize him. So we named a cut after him. We have the Jerry cut.
That's awesome. That is awesome. As a former manager, I appreciate that.
I'm sure there's a Chris cut out there somewhere.
I doubt there is. I can actually say with a lot of confidence there is not. Any other questions? Throw them in the chat. If not, we're going to wrap up tonight. Coach, thank you so much for joining us. This has been awesome. I think I got 3 pages of notes myself. I'm sure everybody has a lot of information. Pat Juckem, I'm very excited to have you. Very appreciative. John McCarthy, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, just a couple. I was thinking of a couple of things. One, the obvious is thanks to Coach Juckem for this. I'm presuming that terminology you write down are Juckemisms at Wash U. And I will note something else. I noticed that I've been following along. Obviously, not only with what you've been saying and watching the clips, it's been wonderful. But I've honestly been going back and forth to pay attention to who's on the call and watch the numbers actually grow as you went on. Most of the times, the numbers will drop off as time goes on. We're an hour and 20 minutes into it, and the numbers actually grew as we were going here. And I noticed throughout this, you referenced number 4 quite a few times with Hayden Doyle. I noticed Hayden joined us as you mentioned. I'm pleased that he's on. And I did notice after he got on, he went from being number 4 to a really good guard, Hayden Doyle. I thought that was pretty interesting. All of a sudden, when he joined, he became the really good guard. And Hayden, by the way, if you're listening, I really enjoyed watching you play quite a bit this year because Hayden could really play. And other than that, not only do I want to obviously thank Coach Juckem for taking the time to do this, but really I want to thank all those that took the time to be on, to stay on. You start to learn about there's a pattern of people that take the time to try to educate themselves even further. A lot of people on this call are already head college coaches. I know a number of you, but you're taking the time in the summer at 9 o'clock Eastern time to be on a call to try to get better. Just kudos to you for doing that. And the last thing, 2 things I throw out. One, please know that we get a good amount of traction when we tape this. Chris tapes this. We post this at the end, and give or take roughly a week from now, we'll have this on our YouTube channel. We'll share it on our social media, and we get a good amount of pickup from that point. So thank you so much for being on. Thanks, Coach Juckem. And I really want to thank Chris for putting this all together. Chris is the one who takes the lead, contacts the coaches, works on the topic. So Chris, once again, thanks so much. You've done an incredible job on both the podcast and now this newly created summer education series. We're just getting this started. So thanks for all of you having the faith in college basketball for taking the time to be on tonight. So thank you so much. Chris, you can wrap it up.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Coach Juckem. Have a great evening. We'll see you next month.